Collins. And let me make sure I'm unmuted. My name is Maureen Collins, and I direct the Multicultural Resource Center, and I'm Associate Director of the Master of Biomedical Sciences program at the Duke University School of Medicine. I'm an alumna of Duke from the 9th class of African American students to enter this university. For the Duke Black Alumni Association and the African American staff and faculty, I welcome you, the 57th class of students of African descent to Duke and to Durham. This is our first virtual welcome event, and please note that this meeting is being recorded. I'm hopeful that you have gotten off to a good start in what will be a year of firsts in our new reality of social distancing, virtual encounters, and virtual learning. For a brief bit of history, we began commemorating the entering classes of students of African descent 27 years ago, when the university vice president noted that it had only been 30 years since the desegregation of the university. A trip through the archives and the Duke Chronicle revealed the deliberations of the trustees and those of the faculty. Desegregation was not an easy decision. We are all fortunate that it was the right one. That committee from 27 years ago, I was on it, coined the tag, "From Abel to Zimmerman," to bring focus to the fact that African Americans have been central to this university since its inception. African Americans have kept the lawns and gardens, fed students, staff, and patients, and staffed the services at Duke and its hospital for its entire history. And an African American man designed the West Campus, including the Duke Chapel. That first commemoration was a year-long event comprising seminars, major speakers, and various celebrations. African Americans are today now represented throughout the university, in senior administration, on the faculty, staff, and in the 188 of you who have joined this first-year class. This year, the planning committee has chosen the theme, "Make Good Trouble," in keeping with the late Congressman John Lewis's exhortation to do what we can for racial justice and equality. He said, and I quote, "Do not get lost in the sea of despair. Be hopeful, optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble," end quote. Duke University is engaging in good trouble as called for by Congressman Lewis, having undertaken the daunting task of dismantling institutional racism. This is work, and it is indeed work, that will make a great university even greater. You brought with you the optimism and hope that Mr. Lewis found necessary. You are invited, in fact, called upon to join in that work through full engagement in your academic life, engagement in the co-curriculum, and engagement with each other. The entire community must participate in this transformation, and we call upon you to make some noise. Today's event is your induction into the legacy of excellence begun by those African American alumni who preceded you and upon whose shoulders you now stand. So the university acknowledges over a century of African American presence, and today we bring focus to your presence. We gather to introduce you to your new community and to direct you to a few of the resources that the university has put in place to ensure that you have community and that you grow and thrive here. I hope that you will take the time during your tenure to get to know the faculty and staff of color from across the university. Seek out the alumni. We are all resources and we are all invested in your success. In a few moments, you will meet President Vincent Price, Vice Provost and Vice President for Student Affairs, Mary Pat McMahon, Dean of Duke Chapel, Luke Powery, and Director of the Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture, Chadre Gwynn. Welcome to Duke. Vice President Vincent Price is the 10th president of Duke University, where he is also the Walter Hines Professor of Public Policy and Political Science in the Sanford School of Public Policy and Trinity College of Arts and Science. Prior to coming to Duke, President Price served as Provost of the University of Pennsylvania and was Stephen H. Chaffee Professor in the Annenberg School for Communication and Professor of Political Science in the School of Arts and Sciences. As Provost and Chief Academic Officer, he advanced initiatives to diversify the faculty and expand interdisciplinary research, guided the development of new forms of teaching and learning, both in the classroom and in the digital world, expanded the university's global presence. President Price is a leading global expert on public opinion, social influence, and political communication. And I know from my colleagues at the University of Pennsylvania, I did time there in graduate school and have many friends there still, that among the many notable talents of President Price, he is also a rapper. He has taken on the challenge at Duke of transforming our campus into a space that will one day be free of those policies and practices that have been impediments to success for people of color. We are most grateful that he is at the helm. Please join me in welcoming President of Duke University, Vincent Price.
Thank you, Maureen, and good evening to all of you here. To the members of the great class of 2024 with us, I'm just thrilled to welcome you to Duke University. I won't be rapping for you this evening. This was a reference to an introduction of Lin-Manuel Miranda of several years back, which was a lot of fun. But we're here today to celebrate the joy of bringing you to campus. I know that many of you are on campus, as I am here. Quite a few of you are starting your Duke careers from home in cities and towns around the world. But wherever you are, we are so excited to greet you for the first time as members of the Duke family. And I want to begin by thanking Maureen from our Multicultural Resource Center at the School of Medicine, as well as Linda Capers from the Center for Multicultural Affairs, and Chandra Gwynn from the Mary Lou Williams Center. And my apologies for my dog, Scout, who let herself into my office moments ago and is now barking to be let out. So if you indulge me for one moment, we'll all be happier if I let Scout out of my office. One moment. Thank you for that. Scout's a wonderful dog. She actually knows how to open doors in the house, but she cannot open the door to leave herself out of my office. But thanks again to you, Maureen and Linda and Chandra, for organizing this event. By connecting and celebrating the African and African American student community, the three of you and colleagues are carrying on an important legacy, one that began 57 years ago with the class of 1963. So thank you very, very much. Extraordinary legacy of the late Congressman John Lewis, who I'm proud to report had a connection to Duke. He received an honorary degree here in 2002. And as we begin this new year together, I might suggest that we can take real inspiration from Congressman Lewis's example of principled leadership in the face of adversity. To be sure, this is an unsettled moment in the history both of our university and our nation. And our excitement as we set off on this academic year, your first year at Duke, is also no doubt tinged by apprehension about the COVID-19 pandemic and about racial injustice, as we've seen so vividly throughout the last several months. You're hearing a great deal during orientation about our efforts to keep your campus community healthy amidst the public health risks of the pandemic. I want to reassure you that our primary focus has been and will continue to be on protecting the health of our students, our faculty and staff, and the larger Durham community. Duke is committed to doing this right. It won't be easy, but our goal is to offer an exceptional academic experience with as minimal disruption as we can safely and responsibly manage. As Congressman Lewis's example may have shown us, this moment of uncertainty also offers us an opportunity to lead, to use our collective talents, perspectives, and voices to bring about lasting, positive change on our campus and throughout the world. In that spirit, I announced in June comprehensive university actions to address systemic racism and injustice. And while these actions were prompted by the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and others in history. And that's why today, as never before, we are committed to ensuring that racial justice is embedded in every level of our institutional operation. We have to work to ensure that our academic community truly reflects our values of inclusion and equity. That process will take time, and I hope that you'll lend your voices perspectives, and your leadership to these efforts as they continue to evolve. No matter how you choose to lead or to participate in the life of this university, we are so glad that you're here. Your talents and your experiences, these have brought you to Duke. And I hope that while you're here, your curiosity will be sparked, your convictions tested, and your character strengthened. With that again in mind, let me say welcome. You've come to Duke to, in the words of Congressman Lewis, find the highest calling of your heart. We at Duke are so excited to offer our inspiration and our guidance as you set off in that pursuit. And we can't wait to see the many ways that you will shape the future of this university and of the world. So thank you so very much. My apologies again for my dog Scout, and welcome to Duke University.
Thank you, President Price, for your words, for taking your time to be here with us this evening. If I'm before you now, my name is Quentin Smith. You can call me Q. I am the Assistant Director for the Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture, and it has fallen to me to introduce to you Ms. Mary Pat McMahon. Mary Pat is the Vice Provost and Vice President for Student Affairs and holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in History from Yale University, as well as a Master of Science degree in History of International Relations from the London School of Economics and Political Science. Before bringing her considerable experience here to Duke in July 2019, Mary Pat has served in instrumental leadership roles in a number of university communities. She was the Dean of Student Affairs at Tufts University School of Arts and Science and Engineering, the Associate Dean of Student Affairs at Baldwin College, the Associate Director of Doctoral Programs at New York University, and the Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Yale University. In her current position as Chief Student Affairs Officer at Duke, Mary Pat is directly involved in decisions that shape the undergraduate and graduate student experience, including responsibility for residential and dining services, student wellness services, specialized services for parents, families, student veterans, as well as other student-directed services like student extracurricular support and the university's identity and cultural centers. So without further ado, I present to you your Vice Provost and Vice President for Student Affairs, Ms. Mary Pat McMahon.
Thank you, Q. I appreciate it. And I think I'm on the microphone now. Welcome, everyone. And it's really nice to see your faces. We know that this summer, anybody who graduated from high school this year or transferring in or coming in from a different program or coming into a graduate program right now, we know that you've had quite a time, right? We know that the pandemic landed in all of our lives in March. We know and important, and we want to sustain them, as the president said, in the momentum and the work that we have to do here at Duke. We know that people have come from all over the world in the past few days to land at Duke or to engage with us virtually and coming later. There is a lot going on. I want to add my voice to welcoming every single student and their families as we are underway after a summer of preparation and just thinking about you. It's been so wonderful to see students on campus, see families walking around. We will be in hybrid mode in many different fashions this semester as we sort of start out and get rolling. But I do want you to know that I can see on this screen right now, I can see on this screen right now an extraordinary number of colleagues from the Center for Multicultural Affairs, the Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture, the Office of Campus Life, our Career Center. I made a list of everybody that I saw sort of coming through the screen right now. Our multiple centers across campus, identity, cultural development, wellness supports, Do Well. There will be all kinds of people waiting for you in Zoom rooms, waiting for you in conversation, waiting for you in program over the course of this year. You'll have a lot to explore in your classrooms. We are here to be in the journey with you as you find your way through all kinds of aspects. I do want to ask you to join me in thanking my colleagues for all the incredible work that they've done to get ready for student start this year. So we'll sort of virtually wave and thank them right now. I hope you'll make connections and sort of find time with us. I have office hours on Tuesdays and students can sign up. Last year I had one group of students that I met with every 2 weeks. So they were my highest priority because I had so much to learn about Duke, and that was the Black Student Alliance leadership. I see Cartier on the call right now, and I will tell you that we have terrific student leaders in the Black community, in our multicultural student groups, in formal and informal functions, helping all of us at Duke sort of think and partner with students about what this community needs to do to be more inclusive, to be supportive, and to help you in your identity exploration, in your academic excellence, and in all the different ways you're going to grow as humans while you're here. I won't keep talking. I want to thank you for coming, and I look forward to meeting you in person at some point or on the Zoom screen. So thank you, welcome.
Thank you, Mary Pat. Good evening. My name is Janae Adams, and I serve as the Associate Director in the Center for Multicultural Affairs. I have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker this evening. The Reverend Dr. Luke A. Powery is the Dean of Duke University Chapel and Associate Professor of Homiletics at Duke Divinity School. A national leader in the theological study of the art of preaching homiletics, Powery regularly delivers sermons at Duke Chapel as well as at churches throughout the United States and abroad. He is often a keynote speaker and lecturer at educational institutions, conferences, symposia, and retreats. His teaching and research interests are located at the intersection of preaching, worship, pneumatology, and culture, particularly expressions of the African diaspora. Powery was ordained by the Progressive National Baptist Convention and has served in an ecumenical capacity in churches throughout Switzerland, Canada, and the United States. Prior to his appointment at Duke, he served as the Perry and Georgia Engel Assistant Professor of Homiletics at Princeton Theological Seminary. He received his Bachelor of Arts in Music with a concentration in vocal performance from Stanford University, his Master of Divinity from Princeton Theological Seminary, and his Doctor of Theology from Emmanuel College at the University of Toronto. Please welcome Dean Powery.
Thank you, Janae. And also I want to say thanks to the entire planning committee for this invitation, because normally there is a conflict because of all of the events that are happening at the beginning of the school year. So I've never been able to attend the African and African American reception. So this is special, even though it's Zoom, even though it's virtual. I am delighted to be with all of you in this way. You know, with the theme, making good trouble, but then the framework from Abel to Zimmerman, I could not resist coming into the house, so to speak, that Abel designed. I'm standing in the pulpit of Duke Chapel, which currently is not really open to the public. But I came in this space for inspiration because I remember those who have stood in this very pulpit, Samuel Dewitt Proctor, who was the first Black to preach here, Benjamin Mays, Gardner Taylor, Bernice King, Cynthia Hale, Desmond Tutu, even the Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. spoke from this space. And so my being here is in memory and in honor of all of those. What James Weldon Johnson said from his 1922 poem, O Black and Unknown Bards, about the long, long line of those who have gone before us, those who are gone, those who are forgot, those who are untaught, unfamed, unnamed, that we stand in their legacy. We stand on their shoulders, that we are not alone. I remember even before the first Black undergraduates memorializing Dr. Wilhelmina Rubin Cook in this space and remembering what she said when we celebrated 50 years of desegregation, that she said the chapel during her days as a student was a place of refuge for her. So I stand here in honor of all of those who have paved the way, even for me to be here and for all of us to be here. And I honor them. And in particular, because of where we are in the proximity of the luminaries, the civil rights luminaries who have died this year, Joseph Lowry, C.T. Vivian, who died on the same day as Congressman John Lewis. All three of these leaders not only were civil rights activists, but leaders who received the Presidential Medal, the highest honor in this nation. And so we stand on the shoulders of so many who have gone before us. And so I remember the cloud of witnesses. I'm not here by myself this evening, but I'm surrounded by this great cloud of Black witnesses who've made the way for so many of us, that we are not alone. And that those who have gone before us, even those of you who are here, who have paved the way at this institution for so many years, I honor you. I remember you, those who have gone through the struggle, even on Duke's campus historically, for racial justice and inequality, to work towards the beloved community. All of these generations that have come before us knew what struggle, understood what uncertainty was. And here we are, as you've heard referenced already, we find ourselves with our current challenges and our current pandemics, plural. I like to say that before COVID-19, the global pandemic came out, there was another pandemic of racism that had been breathing through this land and throughout the world in the history of colonialism long before COVID-19. But here we are at the convergence again of scenes of racial injustice, of the COVID-19 pandemic that only heightens what we see, the discrepancies, the inequalities around health and unemployment, and all of that has been, we can read it through a racialized lens, we see the inequalities. Here we are again in many ways, wearing a mask, a physical mask. I know people struggle, even myself, I struggle with wearing the physical mask at times, but there's something about that mask that tells the truth. The physical mask that we're wearing for health reasons actually unmasks us. It tells the truth about who we are, that we are not in control, that we are mortal, actually. And think about it, when we wear that physical mask, I look around, I said, oh my God, it's like we're all patients in Duke Hospital. And in many ways, it does reveal our sickness as a nation, as a people, that this social, political sickness that has continued to pervade our society in so many ways. I'm remembering, even as I think about John Lewis and this theme, making good trouble, I remember what Howard Thurman, the Reverend Howard Thurman, who was seen as a spiritual mentor for many of the civil rights leaders, Howard Thurman, who preached here twice in the late 70s before he died. When he remembered Dr. King after he was assassinated, he said in his remarks that we are not quite human yet. He says, we are becoming human. And I think that's the case for us, even in our day. We are not quite human yet. We are becoming human wherever we find ourselves. And so this brings me to this theme of making good trouble, because good trouble has to do with helping us become more fully human together as a human race, wherever we find ourselves. Of course, John Lewis is known to coin that phrase. He was, of course, a major civil rights leader, struggling for racial equality and justice. He was the founding member of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Here was a man who put his life on the line, who made good trouble on what is called Bloody Sunday, on the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, March 7th, 1965, peaceful protesters actually protesting police brutality. In that day, here he was, a young man whose skull was badly beaten, cracked, for the purpose of justice and equality. Here was a man that Reverend Warnock at Ebenezer Baptist Church, when they funeralized him, said he was beaten, battered, but he was never bitter. Here was a man who wrestled actually with the call to ministry, to become a preacher. And even though he didn't do that, he was known to preach to chickens in the field. And what Reverend Warnock said, that instead of preaching sermons, Congressman John Lewis became one. He became a sermon. He became an enfleshed embodiment of truth and love and justice. His life sermon was about making good trouble as an ethical, moral imperative. We heard the quote earlier where he said, don't get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. So what is good trouble? Good trouble is getting in trouble for a good cause. What is good trouble? It is fighting for the equal treatment of Black people in particular and reclaiming Black humanity for all humanity. What's good trouble? Working toward justice, equality, and freedom for all, even in the face of opposition. What is good trouble? Working toward a just society where all people are treated as human beings of worth and value, affirming that every person is a child of God. What is good trouble? Working for the transformation of society and its systems and its structures, moving us toward the beloved community, or what Dr. King called the world house. So it is to speak up and speak out. It's to act up and act out for the good of all. That's what makes it good trouble. If you see something, he says, is not right, if you see something that's not right, say something, do something. Good trouble is causing trouble for the good, for what is right, for what is just. So Duke students and even my Duke colleagues, as we start a new academic year, just remember you're never too young, and let me say you're never too old to make a difference, to make good trouble, right? Making good trouble is a part of the good life. Making good trouble troubles the terrorism against Black bodies. Making good trouble troubles the waters of racial oppression and inequality. Making good trouble leads to the eventual triumph over evil. Making good trouble moves the world towards the goodness of God. Making good trouble is for the common good, especially those whose backs are against the wall. So in other words, making good trouble means you're dreaming a world in the end. You're dreaming a world like poet Langston Hughes, who said, I dream a world where man no other man will scorn, where love will bless the earth and peace its paths adorn. I dream a world where all will know sweet freedom's way, where greed no longer saps the soul, nor avarice blights our day. A world, I dream, where Black or white, whatever race you be, will share the bounties of the earth and every man is free. Where wretchedness will hang its head and joy like a pearl attends the needs of all mankind. Of such I dream my world. Dream a world where the institutional value of excellence becomes the most excellent way of love and justice and peace for all. Shortly before his death, John Lewis wrote an essay that was eventually published in the New York Times, and they actually published it on the day of his funeral. It's called Together You Can Redeem the Soul of Our Nation. And in that, this is some of what he says, and I close with some of his own words. Ordinary people with extraordinary vision can redeem the soul of America by getting in what I call good trouble, necessary trouble. Voting and participating in the democratic process are key. The vote is the most powerful nonviolent change agent you have in democratic society. You must use it because it is not guaranteed. You can lose it. You must also study and learn the lessons of history, because humanity has been involved in this soul-wrenching existential struggle for a very long time. People on every continent have stood in your shoes through decades and centuries before you. The truth does not change. And that is why the answers worked out long ago can help you find solutions to the challenges of our time. Continue to build union between movements stretching across the globe, because we must put away our willingness to profit from the exploitation of others. Though I may not be here with you, he writes, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe. In my life, I have done all I can to demonstrate that the way of peace, the way of love and nonviolence is the more excellent way. Now it is your turn to let freedom ring. When historians pick up their pens to write the story of the 21st century, let them say that it was your generation who laid down the heavy burdens of hate at last, and that peace finally triumphed over violence, aggression, and war. So I say to you, walk with the wind, brothers and sisters, and let the spirit of peace and the power of everlasting love be your guide. Answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe in. Let love be your guide this year, even as you make good trouble. Because we know, we believe that the truth is marching on, that hope is still blooming in the desert, that hope, as Pauli Murray said, is a song in a weary throat, that hope, as Emily Dickinson said, is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. So welcome to all of you to the Duke community, and let's make some good trouble.
Thank you so much, Dean Powery. If the rest of you feel the way I do, I think with that, we all just need to take a collective breath and exhale. I know that in some small way, it may be lost on the class of 2024, as this is your first orientation experience, just how special this moment was for us that have been attending this reception for so many years, and so wishing that Dr. Powery could be a part of the celebration. And so I am just beaming because it was so worth the wait. We are so glad that you were able to come and just offer a word to us. We cannot wait until you are back in your pulpit officially, not alone, but with some company. With some company. We are excited for that day, and when it should soon come, hopefully, for each of us. But thank you so much for spending a little time with us this evening. We are grateful for your presence. We're grateful for your leadership, and thank you for your words. And with that, I say good evening to each and every one on this call. I am Chandra Gwynn, and I continue to be privileged to serve as the director of the Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture here at Duke University. I'm going to offer a few remarks, but if you all are like me, maybe you're not, because you weren't sitting here waiting for your turn to speak. But again, just take a deep breath and exhale. We are just thrilled and delighted. I usually come on after some amazing, wonderful speech just to lighten the mood, lighten things up a little bit, give folks a chance to laugh, a little chance to breathe. I was thinking as I was getting ready for this evening that it's amazing that we're not outside, or that I haven't been running all day trying to get to Penn Pavilion for this amazing reception and suffered the fate of humidity on my hair. And yet it still looks like maybe I did. Okay. So we are just so grateful for the opportunity to welcome the class of 2024 into this Duke community. We thank you so much for choosing Duke. At Duke, the Black Cultural Center is a student center where all are welcome, and we welcome all who seek to learn more about Black people, our history, our culture, and our many contributions. To this end, we offer programming and training, advising, referrals, resources, and the like. I'm grateful to be with you. It's always a special time of year for me. I feel so privileged to enter your lives at this most precious moment. I am always honored to share a few words of welcome. I always say that I have a few points. I tried to number them before, but ultimately it was always more than I said I was going to do, so I don't worry about that anymore. I got a few points, and I'm going to be as brief as I can be. The first couple of points are orienting points, and the second couple are observations. First, I want to acknowledge all of my colleagues, all of the colleagues on Zoom. Thank you all for being here this evening. We are so grateful for your presence and your continued support, even in this virtual environment. I want the students to know that these folks on this call today, and those that are not on the call, stand ready to support you, to virtually embrace you, and to ensure your successful journey throughout the institution. I also want to acknowledge all of the staff that are not here, but who have touched some part of your experience, but may remain unknown to you. Even in the course of your 4 years, they clean the residence halls that you call home, and they planted the grass on Abel Quad, and they are just generally very special people who go about doing the work of this university that we encourage you to be ever and always mindful of, and for whom you should have an attitude of gratitude. For it takes a lot of work to make the institution of Duke University work, and there are a lot of unknown folks, to many folks' experience, that we just need to say thank you. Thank you for the way that they are carrying on in this time. Second, I want to draw your attention to a couple of invitations. This is for the students. We hope to see you on Sunday at the Cornerstone. If not, then we hope to see you at Black Convocation coming up. They're going to be right here on Zoom. There'll be a different link, but it'll be right here on Zoom, because we're doing everything virtual this year. So we will look forward to the opportunity to have you meet other undergraduates, grad professional students, faculty, staff, even some alumni, so that at the start of the year, you can experience the joy of being Black at Duke and not being alone. We want you to know that. And to the parents that may be on the call, we look forward to you coming to campus when it's safe. And we look forward to welcoming you into our various spaces that we hope that remind in some ways, in some special and important ways, your child of home, as we try to care for them and support them in their journey. Third thing I want to mention in terms of orienting is that when we say Black, we refer to all individuals of African descent. When we say Black or individuals of African descent, we want to acknowledge the ethnic and cultural diversity of African people throughout the African diaspora. We use the phrases Black and students or individuals of African descent interchangeably. We honor the collective African ancestors and the many cultures we have adopted and influenced as a result of our ancestors' travels and travails since the beginning of time. We use the terms with reverence, with awareness, and in the spirit of community to refer to individuals who self-identify as African American, Black, African, Caribbean, Afro-Cuban, Afro-Latino, Afro-Latinx, biracial, and everyone who acknowledges their African heritage. We look forward to having conversations about what Black identity means to us as well as to others. We believe that an African diasporic wonder exists here at Duke, and that our diversity is our strength. Now, in terms of observations, first, know that your Black life matters to me. As another summer draws to a close amid national and international turmoil, not to mention a global pandemic, we reflect on this inescapable web of destiny that we must continue to try and extricate ourselves from in order to save our very souls. For me, loving Blackness is my political resistance. I trust that you will remember that self-care is also an act of resistance. Second, as you go throughout the coming year, know that there are going to be times when something that you must do is inconvenient, and that there will be times when something that you must say feels uncomfortable. But the truth of making good trouble is that it comes at the cost of convenience and comfortability. While you are finding yourself at Duke, know that nothing matters more than you. Finding your voice and creating a vision for what you want your life to be and what kind of life you envision for yourself. In all of this doing and finding, do not find yourself disconnected from this community. While you will indeed be the 57th class of graduates in 2024, as the university celebrates its centennial, never lose sight of the fact that 100 years ago, we would not have had the privileges that we enjoy today. We should look out for each other, see the best in one another, and value the opportunity to connect with each other. While we have traveled various paths to today, and while Blackness is not a monolith, there are some shared experiences of Black people, and in honor of those that paved the way, we ought to want to be a part of the connection to one another. And finally, since one of our greatest Americans was a dreamer, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and because I always aspire to greatness, as I hope you do, I dream a new dream for each incoming class. Each year between BSAI, which was 30 whole days this year, shout out to the admissions team and Weiser and Chris Briggs and making BSAI happen virtually. So between BSAI and Move In, I anxiously await what will be revealed to me to share with you as I come to connect with the spirit of your class. This year, this has been tougher than ever to get a sense of the spirit of this class, but nonetheless, I continue to dream. My dream for you, the class of 2024, is that you thrive on making good trouble, that you help to ensure that as the university celebrates 100 years, it does so circumspectly with the proper perspective on the contributions of students of African descent who have, like you will, transform this institution and make it better because you decided to attend. Get to know you intimately in a way you never saw as necessary or possible before. Don't waste time. Keep your peace of mind and thrive. To the members of the class of 2024, I love you and I thank you and I welcome you to Duke University. And I cannot wait to meet each and every one of you in person. Now it is my pleasure to bring before you some of our most cherished student leaders to offer brief words of welcome. You will hopefully connect with some of them soon, perhaps on Sunday, but today I am pleased to present to you the co-presidents of the Black Student Alliance, of DESTA, Duke Ethiopian Eritrean Student Transnational Association, and the vice president of SOCA, the Students of the Caribbean Association, who will speak in that order. So now I invite Cartier, Ruhama, and JJ or Jashike to take the mic. Cartier.
Thank you, Miss Gwen. Hello, everyone. I hope y'all are doing well. My name is Cartier Robinson. I go by he, him, his pronouns. I am the co-president and representative of the Black Student Alliance. To give you some insight, the Black Student Alliance aims to create community for all Black students at Duke, advocate for Black people at Duke, and eliminate all social barriers that may work against the overall well-being of Black students on campus. In just this past year, the Black Student Alliance supported the creation of the Black Cultural Living and Learning Community, also known as the Mitchell White House, met administration to discuss the need for an effective hate and bias policy and work to build more collaboration between Black affinity groups through initiatives such as the Black Caucus. Our work at Duke with the aforementioned initiatives continued. We also know that there's much work to be done in other areas and to ensure a safe, inclusive, and equitable community for all Black students. And just a note, we are here to serve you, listen to you, and do that work. We want to be a voice for you. Most importantly, we as a Black Student Alliance want you and hope that you can find community with us. And with that being said, make sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms, which are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Duke BSA, to keep up with us and what we're doing and what we have planned for you. And also feel free to reach out to me if you need anything, or any member of my executive board. We'll be glad to hear from you. But yeah, thank you, and passing it on to Desta.
Thank you, Cartier. Hello, everyone. My name is Rohama Toretta. I use she, her, hers pronouns. And I am the co-president of DESTA, which is the Ethiopian and Eritrean Transnational Association at Duke. As an organization, we host events to celebrate our cultures throughout the year, including an Abisha New Year celebration in September, study breaks to recharge throughout the year, and discussions with prominent guest speakers about issues concerning the Abisha diaspora. I know this back to school season is the most unique in recent memory for all of us. But what I've learned the most from my time at Duke, and during the past few months especially, is the power of community. The groups of people I met through DESTA and other cultural organizations, extracurriculars, and friend groups have been vital in my personal growth during my college career. And so reaching out and building community in innovative ways, I imagine, will be one of the best things we all can do during this upcoming school year. So I encourage you all to not hesitate to reach out to each other, upperclassmen, and faculty and staff to answer questions and learn together. I hope DESTA can help you on your journey of building community this year to help you stay resilient and inspired. Thank you for letting me to speak to all of you guys. And guess I'm handing it off to Soka now.
Hello, everyone. I'm JJ. I am Vice President of SOCA, Duke Students of the Caribbean Association. And on campus, we really just seek to provide a space for the Duke community, people who are from the Caribbean or who just have interest in the Caribbean, to really learn and celebrate Caribbean culture. And we often do really fun events. In the past, we've done Cooking with SOCA, where everybody gets to come together and learn to cook together. We've done Juve Carnival celebration. Of course, this semester, our events have to look a little bit different, but we're so excited for all of the new students that are on campus, and we're really pumped to just create new virtual events, and we're just really excited for the semester.
So with that, we are so grateful and really just humbled by your presence. We have a few minutes, few meaning 6. So if any of our class of 2024 members on the call have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We will hang around and answer them. I just want to say how gratified we are that you decided to take a little time to be with us. I want to acknowledge the planning team. So Ms. Capers, who you have not heard from today, but is the awesome director of the Center for Multicultural Affairs, and then Ms. Cullins, who you have heard from, who is the awesome director of the other Center for Multicultural Resources. We look forward annually to thinking about what we might be able to say to offer you some guidance on your journey. And we are always humbled by the outpouring of support that we get from colleagues. So again, to all of our colleagues on the call, thank you so much for taking the time this evening to show up for our students. We know that everybody has busy schedules and lives, and we are all Zoom fatigued. But we are grateful that you are here this evening, and we know, so students take note of the names that you see here. We know that they will find help and support throughout the year as the year commences. I'm gonna see if there are any things in the chat, and I'm gonna look to my, you all don't know this, but on my screen to my left and my right, to check in with Maureen and Ms. Capers to see if there's any other matters of business for this evening. But if not, I want to just say again how grateful we are that you chose Duke. We know that you have a choice of airlines, and we are grateful that you decide to fly ours. So we take nothing for granted, and we want to model that for you. The Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture is located in the Flowers Building. And if you are facing the chapel, for those of you that have chosen to come to campus, when you get out and about, if you are facing the chapel, the Flowers Building is going to be a building on your left when you are facing the chapel. We are working remotely right now. So we are closer than the Flowers Building to you right now. We are just a text or an email away. The Center for Multicultural Affairs is located in the Bryan Center, and it is the building where you also may see that restaurant with them arches. You also will find the office of the Vice President, Vice Provost, and some other fun things, some theaters and things like that. So as you're out exploring the campus, the Bryan Center, which is just across the way from the Flowers Building and from Page Auditorium. So if you can find that area, you are in the vicinity. And you'll find many of our other colleagues' homes in those buildings as well. So definitely, by all means, reach out to us. Most of the offices on here have some sort of social media, and that's going to be a great way to stay connected this year. We're going to try not to overwhelm you. We're going to try hard, but know that we all want to meet you and talk to you and see you and know how you're doing. So reach out to us. Know that we're here for you. Give us a shout. Come to our little programs, which are going to be too many to name because we do it big at Duke. But come to the programs that work for you, that fit into your schedule, and is a part of your lifestyle. I am humbled every year to have JJ here offering the remarks on behalf of SOCA and being one of my first year advisees, because I'm a college advisor, and to have Allison on here being my newest first year advisee, member of the class of 2024. We are humbled every year, and we are grateful for the opportunity to be in your life. We don't take it for granted, and we know that this has been a trying time and an uncertain time. It has been for all of us. And what we continue to believe, as long as we are honest and we are forthright and we are authentic in our outreach, that you will know our hearts. And when we say we will get through this together, you will believe it, and you will know it is true, and you will feel it in your heart, and you will want to stay connected with us as we journey this journey together. So with that, I will officially relinquish the mic and wish you all a safe and wonderful evening and an absolutely tremendous new school year. Thank you so much, and good night.